Morning guys, it's Monday morning and I am just doing a little bit on the 205 just because I need to get this thing off the ramp today to do some actual work. I thought I would start this video off just by doing a quick talk over of my rear suspension setup. Had a good friend of mine who I don't see as often as I'd like, but he does follow my videos. He actually got in contact with me and he said, I didn't even realise you'd put that back end on it. He said, can I know a little bit more about it? So I just thought for anybody else watching this that hasn't maybe seen my previous videos, because I did briefly talk about this back end in one of my previous videos, I just thought I'd do a quick run over of exactly what this is, because it's pretty special, to be fair. Okay, so what we've got here, and as you can see I've refitted it all so it looks absolutely awesome. What we've got here is a complete one-off made rear subframe with nitron shocks. This is all adjustable anti-roll bar with titanium bladed ends on it, and these can be adjusted literally at the pull of this little pin. So obviously pulling that and twisting that. Everything else on here is fully adjustable, so I've got adjustment here and it's all done off of these rose joints. This is good compared to the likes of, I'm not going to mention any names, but we'll probably all know what I'm talking about, other kits that are out there that are available. This doesn't retain the factory rear beam, so it does away completely with the factory rear setup. What a few other designs similar to this do, they keep the original torsion bars, and what they do is they fit base model torsion bars which twist really easily, and the coilovers basically override it. This doesn't do that. This is completely independent, and the beauty of this is I also get all the adjustment of camber, of toe, basically everything that can be adjusted on the back end of a car can be adjusted on this, and that's mainly what I wanted. This setup also has, which is a really nice touch, it's got billet aluminium hubs and also Wilwood two-pot brakes. So yeah, as a whole, as well as it looking absolutely awesome, which is not obviously the only reason why I bought it, this should work really well. And although I'm not going to I'm going to take this somewhere and get it kind of set up before I go out to Spa. The real kind of testing with this suspension setup will be when I come back. I'll book a track day somewhere, and somewhere local, and I'll have a play up with the setup. I'll have a play around with the setup myself. You know, I'll do a few adjustments, I'll go out in the car, do a few laps and just find what works for me, because you know, we're all different, we all have different driving styles, etc. And I'm not going to lie, I did like the way that this car was very lively on the back end with the previous setup, but at the same time I always knew there was a lot that could be done to make it better. So that is where I'm hoping this setup really comes in. So I'm really excited to give this a try and see how it works out for me. So that's all the suspension back on. Now I've got to get this off the ramp because, like I said, I've got work to do today, and I'm going to push this over into the corner, and then later on this week I am going to get that fuel tank made, because underneath here now that's going to look absolutely awesome once my fuel tank's on. It's going to look lovely under here. I think we can all agree it looks pretty posh now. So once it's got the aluminium fuel tank on there, it's going to be really cool. My plan is going to be to put it in this area, but only coming halfway down, so to offset some of the weight onto the passenger side. I think that should work really well. Right then, so here we go. A bit that I've been looking forward to. So I'm going to start making my fuel tank. So the plan is to make something that fits in this gap halfway down the car. So I've just done a quick measurement now, and this gap is about 1 metre wide, so I'm going to make it 500 wide, and I've cut a piece of 3mm aluminium sheet here now, which is basically 500 wide by 650. So the plan here now, which is why I've got my trusty old rollers out, is I am going to, if you can see from this angle, this recess is kind of round. So my plan now is to roll the top of this ever so slightly, and then I will put a folded edge on the back so it comes down, and a folded edge on the front, so again it also comes down. And then my plan is to make a fuel swirl pot inside of this thing, so that I don't have to worry about running a separate fuel swirl pot. It's all going to be contained within this tank, and that's going to obviously stop any fuel starvation. Then over the opposite side here, I am going to run my fuel pump and my fuel filter, and then obviously I'll run my fuel lines through to the front of the car. So yeah, this is pretty exciting. I'm going to get this rolled now and then put a bend on it either end, and it shouldn't, strictly speaking, take me too long to knock this fuel tank up. Let's get started on it and see how it goes. So to start with, I need to get my rollers set right down, because this sheet needs to go in flat, because I'm not rolling it from one end to the next. I only want to put a very slight bend in the middle of it. So I've put a mark on my sheet where I want to start bending it. This is 3mm sheet, by the way, so it is going to be a little bit more tricky to bend than 2mm, but it's going to be good having 3mm underneath the vehicle, just because obviously stones flicking up and stuff like that, it will make it, just protect it a little bit. Right, so now I'm at my line there. I'm just going to wind this up ever so slightly, and I'm going to wind this up ever so slightly. And that will start to give me a bit of a bend. Now, as I roll this through, as you can see, that sits up in that recess now really, really well. It's not dropping down any lower than the floor, so that's good. And now what I'm going to do is at the back there is I'm going to put a flat on it to follow out the boot, and then it will return back to that point again there. So it's going to make for a really nice little fuel tank. So the plan is, I've got this bit of 4-inch round pipe. I used to make a lot of fuel swirl pots, and that's what this used to be. So I've just dug this out, of my storage area, and my plan is going to be to mount this inside the tank like this. So I will then take an outlet off the bottom here. This will obviously fill up with fuel, and because it's contained in this area here, it stops it sloshing about. Obviously I've got to make sure that enough fuel can get into this pot to keep it pretty much full at all time. So it's going to have a few holes in it so that the fuel drains into it. But yeah, this will have an outlet coming off the bottom which is going to run to my fuel pump. And then what I'm also going to do is my return line that comes back into the tank, rather than it just returning into the tank, I'm going to run it right through the tank and I'm going to drop it into the swirl pot. So it will be returning back into the swirl pot, which will also help keep this full. That should, in theory, stop any fuel starvation. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get this cut and fabricated into this tank. This is all, like I've said before guys, this is all trial and error really. So whilst I don't claim to be a pro, you know, what I'm doing is just all kind of guesswork and what I think will suit the car. I think this should all work pretty well. Like I said, I've built quite a few fuel systems for my own cars now, and I've never suffered with fuel starvation. So doing little things like this swirl pot inside the tank will help me out massively. So now that's all filed up and is pretty much at the right shape now to fit nice and tidy inside there. I am going to have to just chop a little bit of height off this, just because at the moment I wouldn't be happy with it sticking quite so far down out the back of the tank. So I am just going to take a little bit of height off this, just so it's just sticking just below the tank. Obviously a majority of the work is going to be done inside the tank. I basically just need the height of a fitting sticking out at the bottom, and that should be more than enough. Right, so what we've done here now is I have welded in this 4-inch pot into the bottom of this tank, as you can see, and I've put a series of holes in the pot as well, all the way around there. So enough holes to let the fuel in. My next plan, let me just take this off here. My next plan is to get this bit of aluminium pipe, and that is going to go through and sit inside the middle of my swirl pot, just like that. So we've got that sitting in there, and this ends just at the edge of my tank. Now I've just got an AN6 fitting and I've drilled the end of it out ever so slightly. So that AN6 fitting now will push onto the end of that bit of pipe. I can butt it up to there and weld that in. So what that means now is I've got a direct return straight back into the centre of my swirl pot. So that should work. That should work an absolute treat. To have that returning into the centre of that pot means that obviously any fuel that's being returned from the engine, as you would in a normal swirl pot in a boot, a normal return goes back to the tank. So this will do the same. So yeah, it's going to work really well. So I thought we'd have a little look at my headlights this morning because I am just about to start putting these back together. I have had a couple of people ask me what headlights I had on the car previously, and so I just thought I'd show people exactly how I made these up. So what we've got here is, these are just 205 lights, which there is kind of a prominent moulding line around the light, which I've cut along that line. This looks a little bit nasty at the moment, just because I will chuck a little bit of black paint on this, but they do the job. So I cut the back down on these to make them a lot more slimline. Now, I did this initially because I was running a front mount intercooler at the time, and I was struggling for room with my pipe work. So that was the reason why I cut these headlights down in the first place. So, but it actually worked out really, really well. And the only reason why I've taken them apart now is just to refresh them, basically, to go back on the car. The rest of it is just these universal rectangular lights off of eBay, and these are really, really bright. Now, you can wire these up in two different ways. You can have them as side lights as well as main lights, or you can have just all the LEDs on together. Now, they literally mount inside the light like that, and then all I do is these glasses back over the front, and that gives me then kind of modern to date lights, because the lights on these 205s from factory were really rubbish. You don't see an awful lot with them. So this was just a way of getting a lot more modern light out of these lights. You could have just gone for a HID kit in them, but that was an issue for me just because I needed to try and shave the backside of the light down just to give myself some more clearance. So these worked really, really well for me, and haven't really looked back with them. They just work. Are they road legal? I mean, I've took it for a couple of MOTs, and all the beam and pattern and everything has been fine. And when I am out on the road with this car, normally it's pretty obvious if your headlights are pointing in the wrong direction or are way too bright, because I'm sure we've all been out there with a set of HIDs or a set of lights that are way too bright, and people don't like it and people start to flash. Well, I've never had that issue with these lights, so that to me says that they're not too bright, but they certainly light up the road and do everything I need it to do. I'm not even sure, by the way, whether I am going to MOT this car again. It would be nice to take it out on the road. I did used to like taking this out on the road, but predominantly this is a track car now. So that's still yet to be seen as to whether or not I'm going to MOT this car again, or try and get it through an MOT to get it back out on the road, or whether it will just purely be a track car from now on. I've got enough road cars. It's not really something that I need, but I do like driving this thing out on the road. People like to see it out and about, so yeah, we'll wait and see. Right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to seal up these lights, because I've got a whole list of jobs that I want to do today, and putting these back together and giving these time to just set and go off was kind of top of my list today, just because once these are done, they can then go back in. I did last night put my new indicators back in, so they look really, really good now. Really happy with them. And then I also just painted up all the brackets that hold them in. I've painted them up. I'm waiting. I'm still halfway through making my fuel tank. Now I'm having a bit of a nightmare with that just because my TIG welding set has given up, and it should be back by now at the manufacturer's being repaired, but the courier company who are supposed to be picking it up are absolutely mugging me off. So yeah, I'm not having a fun time with that at the moment. So have got another welding set here which does the job, but you know, that's what I do. I'm an aluminium fabricator welder. That's what I learned. That's my trade, and just having a set that just does the job. I like to look at my welds certainly on aluminium, and I like to kind of go, that looks really nice. Still, even after all this time of me welding aluminium, I take great pride in my work. So to have a set which will lay down a weld that's going to, you know, seal a fuel tank, but isn't quite to my standards, just doesn't sit well with me. So kind of put the fuel tank on the back burner for now, in the hope that a loan set that they're sending me while mine goes away to be repaired is going to actually show up, because I've been waiting now since Wednesday for it last week. And we are now on Wednesday this week, so I've been waiting a week for a loan set to show up. It's not the manufacturer's fault, it's the courier company. And yeah, it's just an absolute joke. So I'm hoping that's going to show up today and I can crack on with my fuel tank. So that's the headlights now all assembled. I think they look ace. They've still got a little bit of drying to do, but they look really tidy. When I say drying, I mean the sealant that I've put to hold the glass on. It's not fully set yet, so they're going to be ready to go back in very soon. But I think we can all agree they look pretty good. Right, now I am making this panel, or I've made this panel, should I say. Now this is going to be my centre console in the dash, which is going to hold all of my switches and my controls and everything like that. So I'm about to start setting out everything into that panel. Also, I have now fitted this cool little power takeoff here. So this is going to be just for whenever I need to jump start it, or if ever I need to charge the battery. To save me messing about getting underneath the dash, you literally pull these off and then you've got ports which you can jump start off or connect to or whatever. So yeah, I also just tidied up this loom, so that's all done too. Yeah. So now, the next thing to do really is to put this panel. So, if you imagine, it's gonna go down behind there and then slide up behind the dash there. So, it's gonna sit like that. And yeah, it's gonna have all my gadgets in, and it's going to do a treat. One other thing that I've done, hello Jessica. Hello. One other thing that I've done is I've started to just take, this handbrake was kind of a cheap Chinese handbrake if you like, but I had a Wilwood cylinder kicking about, so I've swapped out the Wilwood cylinder. And then I've just taken off the blue anodizing to make it silver, just to match my gear stick and everything else that I've got going in here. So I personally think that looks much better. I'm just waiting on a couple of fittings coming for these brake lines now, and I can get that all finalised and installed. I hope I'll be almost done with this whole car, Jessica. Not quite there yet, but it's getting there. Back end also looks far tidier now. Now I've raptured all that back piece. Looks far tidier, so really happy with that. So I am going to crack on now, and I'm going to set out these parts into this panel. The only thing I can't decide on at the moment is whether to paint that panel black or leave it silver. Obviously black would go with a dash, and I shouldn't get any glare off of the aluminium being where it is, but you never know. It's kind of the downside to leaving something aluminium. My guess is if it gets some sun on it from behind, you could get a bit of glare off of it, but I don't know. I'm going to make that decision afterwards. I've got a bit of cutting to do yet, so I'm going to go ahead and get that done. So what I've got there now is my 2 holes cut for my boost controller and my air fuel ratio gauge. This one is for my on and off power isolator. Switch control panel is going to go here, and my charge cooler controller is going on here. So I'm going to bolt everything onto this shortly and you'll see it, but I've just got a little bit of filing to do on these now, just to I didn't want to make them too big. It's better that they're too small and I can file them to finish them off. I've also now I've put my headlights in the car. How awesome do they look? I'm so happy with them, and I'm really glad as well that I went for the clear side repeaters instead of the orange ones again. I think this is looking absolutely awesome now. I'm so happy with how the front of this car is looking. You can probably see as well that I've got my single wiper on there as well now. So it is slowly but surely starting to come together. Very happy with it. I think that looks absolutely awesome. So we've got my isolator switch there, which is going to light up all posh, shows my amps in the middle. I've got my switch panel there, which is going to do my fuel pump, my ignition, eventually my lights, my windscreen wipers, everything. I've got all little stickers to go in these as well to show which one it is, and again that all lights up posh. And then I've got my AEM lambda there, my AEM boost controller there. That little toggle there is for my my dash, my AIM dash. So you just undo that, and it's tight. I've done it up. There we go. So you just undo that, and you've got your little port there, which plugs into my dash so that I can change all settings on my dash. Then I've got my Davis Craig water pump controller there, which does everything on my charge cooler setup. And then last but not least there, it will sit straight, but that is obviously for my fire extinguisher kit. I think that panel looks absolutely brilliant. I'm over the moon with that. I'm still not sure whether I'm going to paint it black or whether I'm going to leave it in this colour. See, I'm going to fit it like this first, get it all lit up, get it all illuminated, see how it looks, and then I'll make that decision. One other thing that I've got on its way for this panel as well is I've got a little mini USB port as well, just because at the moment in this car I've got nowhere to charge anything like phones or even this camera, anything like that. So it'll be handy to have a little mini USB port in this. So I think it's got 2, maybe 3 USB outlets on it, so that's going to go in there too. Other than that, that panel's done. I cannot wait to get this fitted in the car. It's quite a big step forward, this, because I can put this in now. All my power lines in the car are all ran, so once I secure this in place and I plug a few things in, strictly speaking, I will have power to the car again. So I've got just a few bits then left to do, like I need to finish wrapping my manifold. That has been a nightmare. I'm not going to go into that in this video, we'll do that one again. Finish my fuel tank. My TIG welder has come back today. I had an awful few days with my TIG welding set. Broken, sent me a loan set out while mine goes away to get repaired. But that means now I can continue with my fuel tank. I can get that finished. And in the next few days, this car will be up, running and driving again, which is kind of the critical point for me, just because time's running out. Time's running out. I haven't got long now before this goes for mapping. I need to get it boxed off. I need to get it finished. I've always said from word go, I do not want to be working on this car the night before I go out to Spa, so it's important that I box this off a good few days before we go. So yeah, good progress this week. It has been hard, it's been long hours. I mean, it's coming up for 7:30 in the evening now, not particularly late, but when you've been working all day, still a bit of a stint. It's what I needed to do to get this car done. And yeah, I think we can all agree she's looking absolutely brilliant. I'm also going to get, over the next couple of days, I'm going to get the seats all back in this and yeah, get it all boxed off. It's starting to come together. Not going to be long now before we're seeing this thing ripping around Spa Circuit, and that's going to be a brilliant video. I can't wait to bring that video out for you guys. It's going to be pretty exciting. So I am determined that this car is going to be finished. So yeah, thanks very much for watching this video, guys. I'm going to box this one off here because otherwise the video is going to get too long. I don't like to make them too long. I'm going to box this one off here. There will be another one coming in the next few days, just because I do plan a very busy few days on this car, so there's going to be a lot more progress happening. And yeah, thanks very much for watching once again. As always, please subscribe, like, share it about, and yeah, it's not going to be long before the old girl is back on the road and doing what she does.